Okay, everybody, I believe I'm on the California Weather Watch channel now. I will wait a few minutes here so I can get a few people in the chat before we start discussing what is going on here with the latest on this system rolling in. Yeah, pretty impressive plume of moisture. Most of that's still offshore. It's going to be rolling in here for the next few hours of Southern California. So we're going to dive into all these details here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I think the audio is looking good so far. Let me just double check. OBS can be a little bit interesting here. Ever since I was hacked, I've had a hard time with, let me go back there. I've had a hard time signing in and out of channel still. It looks like it's better though this round. I tried to do a live stream in California prior and it was OBS not working too well. So I will go ahead and, okay, that looks like it's better now. So as you guys can see, we got a pretty impressive plume of moisture off the coastline there. We've had some heavy rainfall off and on across a lot of the state. Going to catch up on the latest of what's going on. I'll show you some of the latest models, do some Q&A, and we'll see where everybody's from, and hopefully everybody's staying safe out there. But yeah, we got two pretty impressive rounds of rainfall coming for Southern California here. One of them tonight into tomorrow, and then another very impressive plume on Saturday that could be impacting some portions east of the mountains as well, including portions of Nevada and Arizona. Orange County checking in. Sounds good. All right. Looks like I got that worked out. Grapevine in California. Well, we don't know just yet about Thanksgiving. And what is it? Today's Thursday. So yeah, we're exactly 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. Nice to know that, but we got a lot of weather to go through before we get there. But one good thing is that it looks like we're getting some decent snowfall over the next couple of weeks across some of the higher terrain as well. I see Washington weather is in here. I will add as a moderator. Done. I see some familiar names in here. There's Matt Mittens. The chat is blanking out. Everybody else having an okay time with the video and the audio? Corona Del Mar. I used to go swimming at that beach when I lived down there. That's a great place. Let me know if the audio is okay. I had a complaint that it was going in and out. That usually can be something on the user side, but yeah. All good. Okay. Check your connection if you're having any difficulties. Looks like things are good. Joshua Tree in the house. Corona Del Mar. Coachella Valley. All is well here. Okay, good to hear. I'm going to put this out really quick here also. I'm going to put this on my social media. Stand by with me 1 second. And I'll put one more out on the blue sky. And I'm going to do something else here really quick. I'm going to put it on the Pacific Northwest Weather Watch channel as well so I can get as many viewers. The more people, the merrier, right? Okay, that should do it. I'll get back to the chat here. Hopefully that is working out all right. Well, if you're up across the Pacific Northwest, it's been raining for many areas all day, but we're just kind of on the gentle side of this storm. Definitely a much more impactful storm for portions of California. But thanks for the donation there, Lightning Expert. Hopefully some more active weather coming the Pacific Northwest way here over the next week or so. But I mean, look at this ridge out here across the Pacific Ocean. And you can really see this trough is dug out, some very cold air. And then you get this subtropical tap. You can see the Hawaiian Islands to the left there. Look at that tap, and the satellite goes in and out a little bit there. But yeah, it goes 18 satellite image. You can see this all the way back down into the intertropical convergence zone. Some very impressive moisture coming across the state here. And this right here is coming for tonight. I mean, this is coming here over the next few hours. You can already see some of this moisture kind of filling in here on the Doppler radar. There's Point Conception. You're looking at Los Angeles County there, and there's San Diego. Some heavy rain approaching the San Diego County coastline here as we speak right now. You can see some red on the Doppler radar and there also. Big Bear in the house. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for the kind words. Jeremiah 4 in the house. Super warm in San Diego. Yeah, you're getting that subtropical flow out of the south. Sugar City, Idaho. Riverside County. Yeah, you'll probably seeing some of these showers. This is just kind of a little taste of what is to come here, but we got some very impressive moisture rolling in over the next few hours. Thanks for the donation, Christopher. So I'm going to do this. We're going to go to, I dream about Thanksgiving snow, but I don't see that we're going to have any Thanksgiving snow just yet. It's possible here, and we're going to get a big pattern change, it looks like, maybe towards the end of the month, but there's still a lot of uncertainty on that, how that's going to unfold. It's going to affect much of the lower 48 as well. That sudden stratospheric warming is really going to shake things up. It might get some cold air across portions of the West Coast, and then eventually probably portions of the eastern USA. Now, look at this. So this is the latest high-resolution model. So this is about what? We're looking about 8 o'clock tonight. No, sorry, this is 10 o'clock right there. 11, 12. You can see the fire hose, Santa Barbara County, as we go through midnight. There's 1 a.m., 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Impressive amounts coming here for Santa Barbara and Ventura County. And then that starts to pivot down towards Los Angeles County. Some heavy rain embedded in some of these segments. Now, if we drop back 1 hour here towards the 0Z, and you'll really see this plume as we go through the day on Friday, coming up across much of Southern California. And then as we go through Saturday morning, another huge round of rainfall up across much of Southern California. So yeah, we got a long way to go for this storm system. And as we go on into Saturday, we're still going to have some of that through Saturday night, maybe even on into Sunday. And if we look at the North American model, we can look at the whole state here more in a moment as well. If we look at the North American model, you can see the fire hose pointed into tomorrow morning. Not even really that much of a break for some locations. And then as we go again on into Saturday morning, another very impressive plume, some very heavy rainfall coming up across the area. Could be training over some of the same areas, which could really exacerbate some of the flooding. And this goes all the way on in through Sunday morning, shown right here, and still some precipitation around, and maybe another storm system after that. So if we take a look at this total precipitation, actually, let's do this. Let's go to 24-hour running total on the European model. So here we go. So we're going to scroll through there. There's round 1 as we go through the day tomorrow, then round 2 on Saturday. And look at some of these incredible rates here, or amounts, I should say, 24-hour totals as we go on in through the day Sunday. And then look at the next system starting to bear down as well. Some decent amounts with that one also. You can kind of see some widespread 1+ inch totals on top of everything we're going to get out of this very impressive first storm there. So yeah, some active weather for Southern California. It's raining heavily in Hollywood. Free car wash is coming. That's right. Yeah, nothing like getting an early start on things here. Again, showing you guys the infrared satellite image. You can see all this cold air. I mean, look at this ridge out here across Pacific and this cold air dropping down. You can almost see how this is going to get pinched off. We've got the jet stream coming across through the Pacific Northwest. That's going to pinch off this cold air, and it's really going to slow down this upper level low right off the California coastline. So that's going to bring at least 2 big rounds of heavy precipitation across much of California, and especially Southern California, potentially Nevada, and in western Arizona as well. Yes, and there's another storm system potentially as we go through next week. So let's do this. I'm going to bounce this out a little bit here. Sorry about that. I just clicked on one of the Gulf states there for a moment. We don't need that. We're going to go Northeast Pacific Ocean, and we're going to go to multi-parameter, and we're going to go to 6-hour precipitation. So here we are. Or are we right about now? So we are right about here. And you can see our low pressure system off the northwest California coastline. Hawaiian Islands are the bottom left of this image. There's California. And you can see this plume. Look at this extend all the way down into the intertropical convergence zone. Some very rich moisture being pumped up and across the region. So as we go through the next few hours into early tomorrow morning, you can see, I mean, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, Point Conception, Santa Barbara County, Ventura County kind of getting rocked there. Portions of Los Angeles County, the rainfall moves into San Diego County, but that's not going to be the heaviest for many locations. But as we go through tomorrow morning, you can see, again, another impressive plume with what I mentioned, that upper level low kind of getting cut off and pinched there right off the coastline. And look at this impressive swath of precipitation. This is on the day Saturday night. We go on into Sunday, still some precipitation here across the state. And then you see the next frontal system out here. This is Sunday night, this rolling, and then we go through Monday. So that's mainly impacting Southern California, Central California on the day Monday. After that, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, that's a long way out there. So yeah, two good systems coming up here. San Diego, windy, rain in a few minutes. Yes, indeed. If you saw that Doppler radar imagery there, you can see that heavy rainfall right off of Sonoma, Orange County. That's coming in right now. In fact, we can do this also. I can go to mapping and we can go to some station IDs. There's San Diego down there. We got Orange County right there. Unrealized precipitation. Jonas Miller is in the California chat as well. We still have not figured out who Jonas Miller is. People have some ideas, but nobody's been able to confirm. Thank you for the donation. Yeah, a little bit of a Pineapple Express. North Coastal San Diego County. Yeah, you can really see it right there at the end of the loop. In fact, I'm going to shorten this loop up a little bit. The last 6 there. You can see in some of these bands coming across Los Angeles, up in towards Ventura County and Point Conception, you can already see it, kind of some intermixing of that heavier precipitation moving through. We are in La Nina. We'll probably be in La Nina through at least December, and then maybe move towards neutral as we go through the later portion of the winter. And we potentially could be moving towards an El Nino next year. So stay tuned for that. Any lightning? That's a good idea here as well. Let's go to Ghost Derived and lightning flashes. Let's see. We'll have to zoom in a little bit more. Let's go to right across San Diego here. I don't see any lightning in that right now, but that I will not rule that out here, especially as you go through the day on Saturday. And also on that note, you can see the special marine weather statement out here. Chance of thunderstorms exist across the coastal waters through at least late Saturday night. Gale force winds, rough seas, dangerous lightning, heavy rainfall, reduced visibility, and potential for water spouts. So heads up for that. You do got to love when these storms get down into Southern California. These frontal systems a lot of times can produce water spouts, and when they move onshore, they become tornadoes. Donner Pass is probably just looking at a few inches of snowfall here. Yeah, there is some weak tornado potential, but really the big story from this is like potential flooding over burn scar areas. Like the Palisades has the potential for some training of precipitation over that area. I know there's burn scars areas across portions of the transverse range as well. Disneyland in the house. Death Valley, that's a good question also. So that's something I was going to check out. Let's go ahead and let's look at the national blend of models here. We're going to go to California and we're going to go to South. Actually, we got to go to Central if we want to see. No, we'll just go to the entire state. Heck with that. The national blend of models has some pretty impressive precipitation amounts as well. Now, as you see, as we go on in through what is the day on Saturday, you see some of these big totals coming up across some of the, San Bernardino County up towards the California-Nevada border, in towards portions of Nevada. I mean, Death Valley, you could be looking at a couple inches of rain, which is huge rainfall out there. That's pretty impressive. Thanks for the donation, Lightning Expert. What does La Nina look like? Well, it's a little early for La Nina to really take effect just yet. but it does look cooler than normal for some of the West Coast here as we go on in through the later portion of November for sure. There's a sudden stratospheric warming, which we'll have to talk about sometime. I have to put up a separate video and talk about that a little bit here, which could introduce some cold air into Western Canada and even all the way down into the West Coast of North America before it really takes hold in eastern portions of the USA. You heard some areas. Well, yes, I mean, you can see here, if you look to the bottom right, that's up towards 10 inches of precipitation. In these systems, it's really hard to predict just how much these individual locations are going to get. But if you look at Southern California, look at some of these amounts by the time this is 10 o'clock on Monday night. There's some areas showing up over 8 inches of rainfall there in the transverse range, and a lot of pretty wide swath of Los Angeles County getting huge amounts. Big amounts across Orange County, a little bit less, but still impressive across San Diego County, also Imperial County. Yeah, Death Valley does not get much rain. And as you can see, the thing with this storm system is you're getting the access to this moisture. This trough drops far enough south where you get this south flow here, and it really can, you don't get as much rain shadowing going on into places like Death Valley and Las Vegas when these lows really drop far south. You get the nice proper trajectory out of the south there, and it really brings some of that deep moisture back up into the area. Yeah, I'm always hoping for a crazy winter. Weather nerds unite. Sprinkling in Oceanside right now. And yeah, for those of you guys who are just joining, you can see here's San Diego down here. You got some moderate heavy rainfall coming in. Wouldn't be surprised to get a lightning strike with some of the heavier precipitation. I don't see any lightning. None has happened yet that I've been able to see. You can also see you got some heavier amounts kind of moving across portions of Los Angeles here also. Off and on. But the bigger plume is arriving as we go through tonight. It's really going to start to rain pretty heavily across Santa Barbara and Ventura County as we go through tonight. Okay, so we'll do this here really quick. We're going to go to surface wind. Let's bounce out to the state of California here and look at that low. You can see it up to the northwest off the Oregon, California coastline. So if we scroll out here, we're about 4Z right now. That's 8 p.m. So this is the universal time coordinated Zulu time. So you subtract 8 from that. It's 4 in the morning. They're way over in London. So that means it is 8 p.m. here in Los Angeles. And there's some pretty good winds happening across some of the higher terrain. You can see some gusty winds ongoing as we go through tonight. And something interesting that you'll notice here across Southern California, I'm going to zoom in on that because watch that wind kind of hang out there. And it stays out of the south and east. And that's because that low is stalled off the coastline. And you can see it again out of the south and east all the way through Saturday morning. You see the spin in the atmosphere. Then finally the wind shift occurs there. Some portion right around noon on Saturday. But still some precipitation is going to continue after that. But kind of an interesting look at things there. And that's probably why there's the waterspout potential. Some of these southeasterly winds, with the cold air aloft here, you might get a waterspout or two roaming around. Lightning outlook for Pacific Northwest in general this week. Well, unless we can get a convergent zone coming up here, which is probably very poor for the Pacific Northwest. Not looking at not a lot of lightning up there across the Pacific Northwest this upcoming week. Sad to say. Coming down hard in Thousand Oaks, Ventura County right now. Yeah, careful. I mean, if you know how those roads get when you're out there and you start to get rainfall on roads that have not had it in a while. You have rubber buildup and things like that, oil buildup. It can make the roads quite slick. We're going to bounce out back here towards Southern California. Again, we got some moderate rainfall rolling in here, and I'm going to bounce out across the entire state here right now, and we're going to go. So yeah, we got pretty good rainfall going on right now. It's a little bit hit and miss, but we have a better plume that's moving up tonight into tomorrow morning. Then another very impressive plume on the day Saturday. Transverse range snow levels, mainly just the highest peaks. And that second system looks like it has a better chance for some snowfall on the higher terrain of the transverse range. Just a few inches, it looks like right now. In fact, we can take a look at that, though. We will take a look at states. California South. And what I like to look at when you want to get a nice, accurate is positive snow depth change in inches. So let's scroll through here. Anything showing up at all? Let's see the first little blip. No, not there we go. So what is that? Saturday afternoon, a little bit for maybe the transverse range there. North end of the peninsular range. I think that's about where they meet. And then we scroll on into Monday, a little bit more. You can see maybe for some of the higher terrain there, but this is not a big snow event for the mountainous areas. But that can also change, though. So check back, because this is accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. And if we look at Kuchera ratio, it's pretty similar, 10 to 1. Okay, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, there is a few inches of snowfall potentially coming. Well, it's raining already in Los Angeles a little bit. See some of these heavier bands coming across, but it's probably going to be raining tomorrow morning for portions of Los Angeles. And then the biggest bulk of precipitation is probably coming on Saturday morning and on the day Saturday. Is Garrett in the house? I didn't see Garrett. Is he in here? Here we go. I need all the moderating help I can get, apparently. I see some people going crazy on here. Well, what I can do is do this. So here we're looking at, it's a decent slug of some moderate precipitation. There's Del Mar, Encinitas, Oceanside, Vista. It's right there, Carlsbad. So yeah, it's a nice little slug of rainfall, but you're going to get additional rounds here over the next few days. Umbrella Fun. Thank you, LMO. Oh, I think that was a different Garrett. Sorry. A steady sprinkler in Encinitas right now. So you're right here along the coastline. I love this. The Radar Omega on the desktop is really good. You can see if I zoom in, you can see Scripps Memorial Hospital right there. You can like really zoom in all the way down to street level. Manhattan Beach, there's Redondo. And if you pop back out, then you can see the other Doppler radars. Let's see, we'll go to the actual. There is some fairly heavy showers moving across portions, just came across Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley's right there. So was Garrett in here the same time that Jonas donated $5? We're still trying to figure out who Jonas is. This yellow line here is for the slight risk on day 2. Actually, no, that is for now. That's the excessive rainfall outlook. We got flood. Okay, we got flood watches out here also. Let's take a look at this. Portions of Southeast California. Death Valley National Park is under the flood watch. It's almost tempting to come down there and view some rainfall in Death Valley. I don't like to go there for the big rainfall events because it gets a little sketchy. Stuff starts running off and roads wash away and all kinds of crazy stuff can happen. I don't think it's going to be a huge flooding event like that, but they do have flood watches out. That does include Death Valley, Mojave Desert, Eastern Sierra Slopes, Morongo Basin, Owens Valley, San Bernardino, Upper Colorado River Valley, Western Mojave, White Mountains of Inyo County. Lost Lake in the Owlshes is actually filled with water from a hurricane in mid-September. A lot of the roads were trashed. Yeah, I worry about that. When it floods in the desert, man, sometimes it's no joke. I lived in California for a while, but I also lived here in Tonopah, Nevada, and it rained a tenth of an inch, and it was doing some weird washout stuff even with a tenth of an inch of rain. You can't trust it, man. When you're out in the desert areas, you really got to be careful. Roads wash out without warning. It gets nuts. And we do have a decent slug of precipitation moving into San Diego and some Orange County as we speak. Now we got some heavier showers moving across Malibu, Thousand Oaks. And if I go to radar and I go to MRMS, that shows a combination of Doppler radars, but then again, it's not quite as detailed, but you can see in some of San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, getting some off and on heavy rainfall. Still raining across some of the San Joaquin Valley, a bit across the Sacramento Valley here also. I lived in Whittier, California for a while. I also lived in Tonopah, Nevada, and I was always coming into California. I've got some family that lives in the Bay Area as well, and I've got a lot of friends that live down in Southern California still. So I've got some pretty decent connections to the state of California, and I work for Alaska Airlines, which, by the way, that was something I was going to do. I was going to introduce myself because I know I don't talk about this a lot with a lot of my California Weather Watch people. I work for Alaska Airlines, so I'm a flight controller / dispatcher. So what I do is basically I plan the flights. I give them the amount of fuel they need. I pick their airports. I let them know what the weather is like at all these airports. So I work Santa Rosa, San Francisco, San Jose. I work Oakland, Los Angeles, Orange County, Burbank, Palm Springs, San Diego. So I'm very familiar with the state of California. We fly a lot of places down there. We fly to Las Vegas and Phoenix, Tucson as well. So that is what I do for my day job. So I forecast every day I go into work. So it's really helped me with creating these channels. I've talked to pilots for years and I briefed them, and I was a trainer for Alaska Airlines as well. So I was always doing weather write-ups and things like that. And yeah, so lots of good stuff there. So that's where my experience comes from mostly. I did work for the National Weather Service for a while, way back in the 1990s and early 2000s. I took a lot of meteorology classes in college. I thought I was eventually going to work for the National Weather Service, but then I found out about aircraft dispatching. Actually, I found out about air traffic control first. So I was training to become an air traffic controller, taking all the classes. Then I found out about dispatching. So all this kind of ties in together, and then I became a flight controller. Then I worked at Hawaiian Airlines and Island Air in Hawaii for about 4 years. Then I got the call from Alaska Airlines, which is where I wanted to always be. And so, yeah, I'm very familiar with the state of California weather speaking. I live a half mile from Whittier, La Habra. Yes. Yeah. That small world. Yeah. There's all kinds of safeguards when you're flying places. There's all kinds of fuel safeguards and whatnot. And you've got to do all kinds of calculations, landing calculations, takeoff, I work a lot of state of Alaska stuff too, and there can be snow and ice on the runway, and it's really conservative. It's very safe. I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances. Everybody knows that, And the thing about working in Alaska is that a lot of people up in the state of Alaska, they're very good at clearing the runways. They're very good at having them prepared and broomed and plowed and de-iced and sanded and whatnot. So, it's a team operation there at Alaska Airlines. But yeah, it can get crazy in Los Angeles. I know what it's like when you're working some of these flights going into Los Angeles, San Diego, when the wind shifts come and things get turned around. Because yeah, a lot of times, much of the year, you're dealing with pretty good weather overall. And then when you switch things up, it can really throw air traffic control into a loop. And you've got just huge amount of flying going on across the state of California. So you can imagine when you bring storms in, you got to cut back on that flying. Otherwise, you're going to have people diverting. All kinds of crazy stuff can happen. And on a day like this, you can end up diverting to Las Vegas or Phoenix or all over the place. Well, rain is measured in 100th inch increments. All right, we got a lot of people from Whittier, La Habra in here. That's great. I live right by SeaTac Airport up here in Seattle right now. Okay, I'm going to bump this down. And again, if you guys are just joining, this is what's going on. You see the big ridge north of the Hawaiian Islands, way up into the Gulf of Alaska. Deep trough. This is what's causing our system. A lot of cold air aloft here. And this is really tapping the subtropical moisture and bringing that up across the state of California. You got a long way to go here, folks. We have a few days to go before this system will clear out. Then potentially another system will roll through as we go through early portion of next week. Yeah, Ontario is crazy during the Santa Ana winds also. Just absolutely wild. Crazy turbulence as well. I've taken a lot of pilot classes, but I don't have any flight time officially as a pilot. I fly in the cockpit all the time for Alaska Airlines and with some other airlines as well. I've been in the cockpit, Hawaiian, and things like that. So I know a lot about it. I just don't have any official flight time on my own. What's your feeling on Cal Raleigh losing out? I think it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Aaron Judge didn't play 100 games in right field. Being a catcher is such an incredibly hard position, and it's probably the greatest catcher season ever in history. And Aaron Judge, granted, he's the best offensive player. I just don't think he's the most valuable player. If you're starting a team, you can't tell me that you're not starting your team with Cal Raleigh. It's just, how would you not? Having somebody at a catcher position hit 60 home runs for you and play exceptional defense. But anyway, I'm getting off the subject topic here. I'm a little bit bitter about that. But anyway, yeah, back to the forecast here. So this is the Doppler radar as we speak right now. I still don't see any lightning or anything like that off the coastline. Yeah, it's fine. I'm sure people have their reasons why they want Aaron Judge to win it too. It's whatever. That's what makes sports fun, and you get to argue about stuff. Arguing's always fun. I don't give Coast Guard weather reports, no. What I do for my day job is basically I tell the pilots what the weather is, what they can expect en route, what kind of turbulence, any thunderstorms en route, what the jet stream is like. We even do space weather. That aurora there the other day was getting pretty wild. I had to notify all the pilots about it and everything. And some of the planes flying to Alaska were, those are Alaska-based pilots, and they were commenting just how amazing that the aurora lights were the other day. Brad Ward is in the house. Should I make him a moderator? There is a special marine warning out there. I see several questions on that. Out here, basically it has it south of Oxnard, but for Malibu, Long Beach, Orange County, that right there, this tan, that marine weather special statement. If I click on that, you'll see a slight chance of thunderstorms exist, and you'll notice right at the end, water spouts. So that is right along the generally along the immediate coastline and out over the open water. But if they come on shore, they are considered tornadoes. Yeah, pilots were reporting seeing the Panhandle over the the Aurora over the Texas Panhandle. Matt Mittens is an aviation maintenance operator. Awesome. Yeah, I work with the maintenance controllers up on the 6th floor there, right there in SeaTac also. Yeah, the whole chemtrails things, you really can't win, because if somebody really, if they believe in that, there's no way you're talking them out of it. So I've really stopped arguing the entire point. I mean, obviously, there are streaks of clouds behind planes when they fly under certain atmospheric conditions. But I've been in the cockpit of these airplanes. There's no chemtrail switch. There's nowhere to carry that on the plane. We know everything about the planes, mechanically speaking. We have to know everything about them. And there's nothing being pumped nefariously into the atmosphere. That's not to say that there aren't people that try cloud seeding, but it's extremely small scale. I mean, you can look at this stuff, and even the tiniest cumulus cloud has a huge amount of water in it. The amount of water in the Earth's atmosphere is a huge amount. There's so much energy transfer going on at any given time. Our biggest nuclear bombs are basically just child's play to even the most mid or just lower end mid-latitude cyclone. And a hurricane is releasing nuclear bomb energy, like I don't know how much every few seconds, but we don't have near the energy to really affect the weather on a large scale. And chemtrails and whatnot, there's no widespread, effort by aviation around the world to spray chemtrails through the atmosphere. I mean, you have a combustion engine or 2 or 4 of them on these planes racing across, some of the Pacific Ocean, and the temperatures up there are extremely cold. Of course, things are going to condense, and you've got that combustion from the jet fuel that you just burned out there. So you're going to leave trails behind you, but it's not any kind of nefarious, control over anybody. And I'm sure somebody will have some, reservations with what I'm saying, but that's just the way that it is. Brad is another aviation expert. He's a flight controller, a previous manager, previous trainer at Alaska Airlines. So that's Brad Ward. He's talking about a lot of effort going into selecting altitudes to avoid creating contrails. I did not know that. Just got a flood advisory for Santa Barbara County. I didn't see what the AR, I deleted that, but I thought that there was probably category 2, 3 atmospheric river ratings. I've kind of drifted away a little bit from the atmospheric river rating system. I like to just go with basic precipitation amounts for the most part. But I do like to show it at times. And there is a cool new tool here. So if I show you this here and we go to upper level moisture and we go to integrated vapor transport, this is how atmospheric rivers are measured. So basically, anytime you see the blue, and if you're under that blue for 24 hours, then you start to consider yourself under atmospheric river conditions, and you can kind of see the scale gets progressively larger, of course. But you can't see, you're probably looking at category 3 atmospheric river with this system as it's moving in. You can see it really tracking across Southern California here. And then you'll notice here, you can see the low pressure spinning, and it continues this atmospheric river as you go on in through Saturday. Kind of persistent there for some of Southern California. And it even gets up across portions of western Arizona into Nevada. So you could get some heavy rainfall at times with that. Then that system kicks through. And you notice the stacked frontal system actually has some pretty good precipitation amounts with it, but it's pretty progressive. You can kind of see that moving across California. So not really, you might get an AR1 out of that or something like of that nature, but really not that big of a deal. And these atmospheric rivers are always out across the planet. In fact, if I look at northern hemisphere and put that into motion, you can see they're always active. Even in the summertime, they're active out there. It's not anything that's supposed to scare you or anything like that. It doesn't mean, death is approaching or anything. It just means that, it's just a way for meteorologists to communicate with one another. And this is looking at the northern hemisphere precipitable water. You can see these atmospheric rivers, again, are always present across the oceans. When they come across land areas and they drop heavy precipitation amounts, they bring warm water, they melt snowpack, they create flooding. That's when they start to have big impacts. Cecil's Revenge, thanks for the donation there. Any chance you can give me let's look at, so here's Reno. Let's look at Reno here. Greater Lake Tahoe area above 8,000 feet. So the snow levels are still kind of on the high side. The Tahoe Basin looks like 7,500 feet, but just a few inches. I think for I-80 on Sacramento, let's look at Sacramento here. 3 to 8 inches of snow above 7,000. I know Donner Pass, their I-80 is about 8,000 feet. So yeah, you could get a few inches of snow, and that definitely can cause some issues. So there is that potential. And in fact, let's go right here. And I know I-80 is somewhere right in here, I believe. Winter weathering effect. Let's see if this says anything different. No, total snow accumulations 3 to 6. South of Highway 50, 12 to 18 at the highest peaks. So there's some gusty winds out there also. So mainly above 7,000 feet. So yes, you can get some measurable snowfall. And this is from, this goes all the way into tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. And here, Matthew Fab from Western Washington Weather has given me this. And if I zoom in here, so let's go to, we're going to go to the European, and we're going to go to coastal. And yeah, there are actually some AR4 in there. So you can kind of see the plots along the immediate coastline there, maximum atmospheric river scale. The yellow would be AR3, the orange AR4. You can also go down and you can click on these individual locations. So if I go a bit further south, let's go down towards, that's too far south. That's a little bit closer to San Diego there. You can see how they measure these scale. So this one borders on weak to moderate there for San Diego County atmospheric river scale. And you can see how it kind of the cutoff there is at 250 IVT. And then the duration matters as well. So it's both integrated vapor transport, and that's what I was showing you here on this one. That's integrated vapor transport. If I back that up, you'll see the system we're dealing with right now. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, don't swim in the Los Angeles River. You're washing a lot of stuff off here. I mean, in these heavy rainfall events, you're bringing topsoil and all kinds of nasty stuff. You never know. There's oil off the streets and whatever. Who knows who's dumping what into that water. Catching up on the chat here a little bit. Percentage of rain. For example, 30% rain, 60%. That a lot of times it depends on the forecaster making the forecast. So again, some people will use it differently. So it's a very difficult question to answer, mysteriously enough. It's one of the most basic weather questions. But if you're saying 30% chance of rain, that technically 30% means probably not, but maybe. So it's kind of like, it's very difficult to communicate things like that. So I that's why if you notice my forecast, I never give percentages on if it's going to rain or not. I kind of show you that it might rain or it might not. That's about as far as I go. We do actually do that in some of the aviation forecasting as well. There's something known as Prob 30, where they'll put out 30% chance of thunderstorm and things like that, just to kind of give you an idea that it may happen. But yeah, it depends on each individual forecaster, but that's a good question. It's actually a very difficult question on a very basic question at the same time. Yeah, atmospheric river. I mean, I don't know. It's something that the media likes, will get a hold of some of those terms and whatnot. It's a pretty good descriptor if you can use it effectively. The only problem is that, I don't know, it kind of sounds a little bit exotic, and it sounds like maybe a whole river is headed towards your house. So I understand why people get a little bit spooked by it sometimes, but it's nothing that, don't let it bother you is probably my best advice with the whole atmospheric river issue. The same thing with the bomb cyclone. That's it's a very specific term that all it's telling you is that a mid-latitude cyclone is rapidly deepening in pressure. So, it's not something that, just because you get a bomb cyclone doesn't mean that everybody in the region of the bomb cyclone development is going to get heavy rain or strong winds or a big windstorm or anything like that. It's just kind of meteorologically, it's a communication device to tell other meteorologists that, hey, this low pressure system developed and deepened quite rapidly. Windies, European is showing another 4+ on the 20th and 21st for Long Beach, another potential monster. I have not looked at in the extended forecast. That's actually kind of a good question. Let's do this. I'm going to look at the artificial intelligence. We're going to take a look at this here really quick. So we'll take a look at the extended forecast a little bit. So that's the problem. You think that, initially it was going to be, this thing was going to slide through this atmospheric river. And that's what happened a lot of times. It'll pass through and it's like, oh, we're done. But then all of a sudden, look at Saturday morning. Boom. Another huge slug of moisture. These are 6-hour clips we're moving through here, folks. There's going to be probably some areas that get much more than forecast. And there's probably going to be some significant flooding, if I had to bet, across some portions of California. Now we're on into Sunday here. There goes that next system. And that one's got a little bit of a punch to it also as we go through Monday night. There's Tuesday morning, still some precipitation hanging out. Now let's see what happens through the extended forecast. So very weak frontal system. I mean, not very weak, but comparatively speaking. Now we go off into the extended forecast a little bit more. I don't see much after that, but that can change quite dramatically. So I wouldn't put too much stock in it. But no, I don't see another huge monster looming, except for what's coming this weekend. And if we look at this, I'm going to back that up and we're going to watch this precipitation kind of build up. And you can see what's coming there on Saturday. Some big amounts for Southern California. My goodness. And then that excess to Monday. So I don't know if that's the windy app you were seeing was picking up on just this precipitation there, but there it is. I knew somebody'd have a problem with the chemtrail talk. There we go. So yeah, that's the artificial intelligence look at it. There's the National Blended Models look at it. I mean, look at some of these amounts. You don't want to just take away what's saying on the max, but look at that. It's almost 14 inches, some of the higher terrain there. I don't know that that's going to verify, but you could easily see how some places would get 8+ inches across some of the higher terrain out of the storm. Comtrail, that's a new one. Yes, it is. Yeah, the Los Angeles River there in Los Angeles is actually a very effective way of getting a lot of that huge rainfall out. Can you imagine if that was just a river that ran dry a lot of the year and then all of a sudden just came to life in these huge storms? That would be extremely problematic because that somebody would try to build in that flood. That somebody would try to build there. And you worry about people that are homeless or immigrants that live out there or, people that just don't have the means to afford housing. I saw people that lived out on some of those little islands and stuff in the middle of some of those rivers when I went down there, When I storm chase down in California, I've seen people living out there before. So there's probably deaths that occur that never even really get reported. Lake 45 highway closed both ways due to a fire. I didn't realize the artificial intelligence actually has this as well. The artificial intelligence has an integrated vapor transport. Let's back that up. It's a little bit lower resolution though. But it looks like, if the models are right, we'll get some kind of break as we go towards the second half of November, but no guarantees. $11 Bravo Mike, thank you for your kind words and your donation. Sounds like you know your way around an airplane by your screen name. Yeah, Crimson Thorn, that's a good point too. Issues of intermittent flooding in the Los Angeles River is why the Army Corps of Engineers channelized the river from 1938 to 1960, which also my wife works for the Army Corps of Engineers here up in the Pacific Northwest as well. So the Santa Clara River, dry most of the year. We have people who live in camp on the dry patches. Yeah, that's probably what goes on there. We got another pilot dusting grubs in the house. Yeah, not a bad start to November. My goodness. So let's check back here. Again, here's the current infrared satellite imagery. Look at the wave train here. Trough way out here south of the Aleutian Islands and Adak. Ridge way up into the Gulf of Alaska. Deep trough off the west coast of North America. You can kind of see how this is getting pinched off as well. In fact, I'm going to look at that here more in a moment, but you can see that cutoff low. It's going to get pinched off and it's tapping some of the subtropical moisture back into California. So that is what is going on here. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's do upper air wind. So that's what we're looking at when we look at this infrared satellite imagery, the big ridge, the troughing here. So we're looking at 30,000 feet and you can see that jet stream. See that kind of just carry along there, but it kind of forgets this. It drops this ball of cold air, this bowling ball off the coast of California. And then when you do that, you lose its steering mechanism. All of a sudden, this is just like ice cubes in a deep fryer and it's just freaking out and it's just spinning there and it's producing precipitation and it's thunderstorms and it's flooding people and it's not moving too fast until the next trough comes swinging along and you can kind of see that jet stream start to get a little bit more connected again at 30,000 feet and it starts to usher that out ever so kindly. And then there's that second system though, right there. And these ones, they're kind of inside sliders a little bit here. So when the jet stream digs a little bit further off the coastline, you get better moisture dynamics into the state of California. But if they're a little bit further inland, then you don't get nearly as much rainfall. So the track of that next one will be very important as well. And then it looks like a big ridge wants to flex its muscle a bit, but it's fairly transient. Another trough tries to move through as we go through the end of next week. And then what happens after that, who knows? They don't look too far off in the forecast there, but there is some ridging off the west coast. I hope it'll be a rainy season for California. We haven't been doing too bad as far as rainfall across much of the state over the last few years. That's a good point. Matthew Swift, looks like a possible offshore wind event for Southern California as we go through Thanksgiving. Yeah, I didn't bother to look at that. Let's just do 925 millibars. We'll look at mean sea level pressure. So we'll scroll through here. Okay. Let me do something else here really quick. I just saw something that I want to pay a little bit more attention to. Okay, so first things first, there goes our storm we're going through this weekend. Southern California gets hammered. Next system goes rolling through here as we go through next week. Scroll out a little bit for, oh, yep, there's that next one. Okay, so we got some big differences there. Okay. Let me flip this around. We're going to go artificial intelligence, and we're going to go to European here on the, but we're going to go to 12Z data. That was wrong. Okay, let's do this. Okay, 12Z data. So that's the issue here. So we get that system on Monday and Tuesday scrolling through. That next frontal system is much more impressive on that low pressure. It's much more impressive on the European on the right. So I did want to kind of leave that one in there because the artificial intelligence didn't show nearly as much. Okay. Now let's do this. Do I write METARs? That was my previous lifetime job. So yeah, I worked for Hillsborough Airport. I worked for Tonopah, Nevada. I worked for SeaTac, Boeing Field. I worked for Kansas City actually for a little bit of time as well. So yes, I am the METAR master. I probably know more about METARs than anybody on the planet. And I taught aviation, weather, and TAFs and METARs at a college here in Washington State for 9 years as well. And I do METARs every single day at Alaska Airlines also. So yes, I am the METAR master. If anybody knows more about METARs on the planet, then I feel sorry for them. Okay, so let's go off into the extended a little bit here. That's the 18Z. I can't get it right. There goes that system. Let's see. There's an offshore wind event right there. Yeah, it does show one coming in. What is that on the 23rd? That's on the European. Doesn't look too strong there, but you know, that can change at this time frame. Let's look at the artificial intelligence here as well. Have anything in that time frame offshore wise? Let's see. A little bit there. Yeah, there goes an offshore wind event. Yeah, a little bit of a prolonged one, actually. Low resolution also. So, yeah, there's kind of an interesting offshore wind event. Definitely not unheard of at this time of year. SNYDER. Okay, so let's recap things where we are right now. Again, trough, West Coast. This is that plume of moisture that's going to be picking up as we go through tonight, and you can see as we speak right now. I think Orange County is getting pretty, I mean, there's San Diego. There's Orange County. Pretty heavy rainfall coming on shoreline there, and there's some pretty heavy rain just south of Los Angeles right now. Off and on moderate heavy rain for portions of San Bernardino County. That's going to be picking up overnight also. No, the shutdown didn't affect me personally. I mean, Alaska Airlines ended up having to cancel a few flights, but nothing that affected me personally. My wife works for the Army Corps of Engineers, but she was already previously funded, so it didn't affect her also, not this round. METAR, by the way, you guys heard me ramble about that a little bit. That's an aviation coding for weather. So if I go to, let's do this. You can go to some of this information. And this right here, this is what METARs are. So basically this would be for SeaTac. Actually, let's do like, we'll do San Diego. All this coding here tells you time, station identification, wind, you got visibility, you got cloud layers, present weather. It tells you temperature, dew point, altimeter. It's got remarks that tell you when precipitation starts and ends, and it'll do other things like peak wind or where thunderstorms are, tornadic stuff. And it's got all kinds of coding in here. So this is something that pilots and dispatchers will learn to read. So this is like second nature. It probably looks like just absolute gibberish to, the layperson, but this is something that I specialized in for many years. And I taught this at a college here in Washington for about 9 years. So that's what METARs are, in case you were wondering. But yeah, a couple big rounds for Southern California. One starting tonight. Another big one on the day Saturday. Yeah, I actually did some YouTube METAR videos on another channel way back, like probably 10, 12 years ago. Yeah, there was some urban small stream flooding up in some of the Central Coast, up into the Bay Area. It's been raining off and on, moderate, heavy. But the big stuff for Southern California is still yet to come, and I'll show you that here right now. So we're looking at Southern California. There's Point Conception, there's Los Angeles, San Diego here. You see the Salton Sea and Arizona off to the right. So if we scroll through here, the big amounts start to arrive. It's 10 o'clock tonight. It's about an hour. Precipitation is already ongoing. But also look at this. The HRRR, it's not really picking up this batch of rainfall here for a lot of San Diego, Orange County. But you can see the plume of moisture moving in all the way through tomorrow morning. And again, it's not doing a great job with the coverage of this precipitation. But watch what happens as we go on in through. I mean, it just continues through Friday night. Look into Saturday, though. I mean, just in another huge, my goodness, look at some of this precipitation. Very heavy rainfall in there. All the way on in through Saturday afternoon and evening. And then look at that move up some across towards Las Vegas, Death Valley, some big amounts coming in there. I'm almost tempted to fly out on the day Saturday to go look at that. Maybe fly into Las Vegas and go check out some of that heavy rain. Yeah, so there was some offshore wind potential as you go on in the next week or two, but we'll go over that in more detail after we get through the storm. So let's scroll through the high resolution rapid refresh and take a look on that. How much would that total up to be? This is about 6 p.m. tomorrow. There's midnight tomorrow night. Saturday is probably the biggest day for Southern California. And that's as far as the high resolution model goes. Same thing on the national blend of models. We got a new run in here as well. Let's see if it shows similar. So this is by tomorrow morning. And again, what is with this? The models are not picking up that initial plume of moisture going into San Diego. Can you guys confirm that it is raining there just north of San Diego? Anybody in the house getting some moderate heavy rainfall north of San Diego, Oceanside? Anybody? Oh, wait a second here. When are you going to be recruited by a news station to give us top tier weather? Good question. But I probably would not take it because I like doing my own thing here. I'm building this and it's getting between this channel and the Pacific Northwest Weather Watch channel. I'm doing all right. and I have total control of it. And I get to storm chase when I like. Heavy rain in San Diego. Encinitas is raining. Temecula, light rain. Let's do this. So if you're in Oceanside or Carlsbad, Solana Beach, there's Del Mar. How about Fairbrook, Temecula, Lake Elsinore? Anybody in the house from there? Yeah, so it looks like some of these high resolution models are not really picking up on that too well. Yes, there's stuff coming to Santa Barbara tonight, and there's some pretty heavy rain showers just off the coastline here. There's Santa Barbara where I'm circling to the upper left. Yeah, there it is. I saw somebody mention that severe weather potential. Forecast soundings from Santa Maria to Long Beach indicate favorable profiles for thunderstorms and severe weather, which includes small chance of weak tornadoes, strong and gusty winds, very heavy rain, possibly even locally exceeding 1 inch per hour, which is big time problems for burn scar areas. That was my added commentary. And of course, the path of the upper level low, which I've been talking about for a few days, likely determines whether this will occur, but all are in play for all areas. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. And let's do this. Yeah, we will have instability around, as you can see. There are some tracks out there. Check out that track right here, man. It might lure me out here to some of the desert areas on Saturday. It's a long journey there to go watch rain, but that's on Saturday evening. That's what, 4, 5, 6 p.m. There's also some significant tornado parameter also across portions of San Bernardino County. So that is kind of interesting there. See the SIGTOR on the high resolution. There's a little bit, yeah, there's more than a little bit there. Saturday afternoon might be a little bit crazy there. Riverside, Imperial, San Bernardino County, some interesting profiles there, and there's some helicity updrafts moving through. I mean, what in the world? That is wild. Look at these helicity updrafts here. I mean, those look to cross towards Death Valley. That's pretty amazing. Which makes me think I should look at this as well. Yeah, look at that. Oh man, look at that arcing band. Holy cow, that is pretty awesome looking. That's some really heavy rainfall potentially for Las Vegas. That could spawn some severe weather, I would think. Let's check out the lightning potential with that. it has it. Sometimes the HRRR drops off and on, but yeah, it does have it, definitely. If it wasn't for this channel, most of us wouldn't even use the computer. That is the best compliment I can get. No, maybe. So here we're going to look at the North American model. We're going to do composite reflectivity. I want to see what that arcing band looks like on Saturday as well. Yeah, man, it's got it. Oh, that is locked in, the HRRR and the, man, that is very interesting. It's almost worth chasing, man. You can get some gully washers out there. When Las Vegas floods, it can get really wild, especially some of the desert areas. Boy, that looks like fun. Holicity updrafts. Yeah, pretty good at area of instability out there as well. Interesting. Yeah, but those of you guys who are just joining, a lot of precipitation on the way. A lot of precipitation coming in here tonight. You can see it through tomorrow night, Saturday morning. Huge amounts of precipitation coming Saturday morning. And some really crazy weather, even east of the mountains. Death Valley, Las Vegas, San Bernardino, Imperial, Riverside County. Watch out on Saturday. Wicked storms potentially moving up. You could get some of that. You see some of this kind of arcing up towards San Diego, Orange County, Los Angeles. On the day Saturday, could be some water spout potential with that, some lightning. I have never inner tubed a desert wash. I have not. No, even mountains can even enhance tornado formation. Actually, if you line it up right, there's usually it doesn't happen right over the top of a mountain, but sometimes you can get converging winds on the other side of the mountain ranges and whatnot, and you can enhance things. You can actually enhance some of those surface winds as well that speed things up and force them in a certain direction that can provide some lower level shear to get storms ramped up and make them spin as well. Southern California, this is the Doppler radar currently looking at it. See some of that heavy rain moving towards Santa Barbara County, Point Conception. Plumes of moisture towards Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County as well. Yeah, Tornado Alley, best place in the world to chase the big storms, no doubt. But you can get tornadoes in California. Yeah, the Sierra Nevada is getting some good amounts of snowfall. And this is Hanford National Weather Service. You can see we got winter storm warnings in effect. The low might also continue to produce some snowfall for the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada all the way through Sunday. Looks like winter weather advisory for some of the east slopes there. And you notice the flood watches out there. Be careful across some of the desert areas. We'll go towards Las Vegas here. And also, speaking of Las Vegas, look at that. Aspendell, Whitney, Portal, up to 4 inches. 9,500 plus, 4 to 12. Sierra above 8,500, 7 p.m. Thursday to 10 a.m. on Friday. And winter weather conditions probably continuing after that as well. Baker, Death Valley, Barstow, 29 Palms, you're all under flood watch. And that is really going to be impactful on the day Saturday, potentially. And I will be surprised if they did not put some kind of flood watch out for Las Vegas, portions of western Arizona as well. Because this is what the Doppler radar might look like here on Saturday. Look at some of those bands of moisture moving up towards Las Vegas there. Desert areas, western Arizona. You can see the spin in the atmosphere. What a storm. You see, as you go through Saturday afternoon, it does show a little bit, maybe for some of the higher terrain of the transverse or peninsula range, but it's not going to be much. Better amounts across the Sierra Nevada, but again, mainly on the higher terrain. Did not see anything in the way of potential for, let's see. This is tonight, tomorrow morning. Does show a little bit up across maybe some of the Sierras, San Joaquin Valley. And southern California, and then we go into the desert areas. Oh yeah, the EF3 fire NATO made by the Car Fire. That was a wicked example of that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap up this stream. Thanks for everybody that attended here. I will do my normal briefing tomorrow. We're going to go over this all again, but right now it looks like a very impactful storm. Be prepared for the flooding potential. Please be aware of that. Do not take this lightly. There's going to be a lot of rainfall as we go all the way on in through Monday. No snow for the San Diego Mountains. Not this round, I don't believe. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in for the live stream here. I'll do my normal briefing tomorrow. Stay safe out there. And please check back with my briefing tomorrow and I'll get you the latest on the weather information. But I'll be signing off and I hope you guys